Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some news coming out from Russia. So we've got a story about Russian President Vladimir Putin, and he's come out recently and is warning the West of serious consequences if they allow Ukraine to strike inside of their territory. Now, I talked a little bit about that this morning on the video with Emmanuel Macron, the French president. He's coming out recently and supporting Ukraine, saying that Ukraine should be able to strike inside of Russian territory. And there's lots of other countries starting to come out now. I've been hearing about Poland and also Finland. And we've also been hearing a little bit of talk from some members of the Biden administration, like Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's come out recently too, supporting Ukraine's right to strike inside of Russian territory. So we're going to be talking about this more today. I've got this article pulled up, and we're going to be discussing this a little bit. So let's take a look at this. This is on The Hill. It says Putin warns West of serious consequences if Russian soil is hit. And it says here, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned Tuesday of serious consequences if Western countries let Ukraine use their weapons to strike Russian soil. This constant escalation can lead to serious consequences, Putin told reporters Tuesday in Uzbekistan, according to multiple news wire services. His remarks come amid heightened pressure from some NATO members and from Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to let the war-torn democracy strike Russian soil directly. The United States has not called for such a move. So yeah, the United States, so far they haven't officially announced that Ukraine can do this yet, but Vladimir Zelensky has been pleading from the West, primarily the United States, to allow them to strike inside of Russian territory because a lot of their cities have just been completely bombed on the eastern side of the country. Now Kharkiv is at risk of falling. If the Russians get any closer than where they are, they could eventually start using artillery and striking Kharkiv with artillery, which could be really bad. So the Ukrainian military is holding them back in the Kharkiv region, but they're still coming under attack frequently. I've reported a lot in the Kharkiv region. There was just a hardware store that got bombed by Russia just about a week ago or so, maybe less. And, they've been calling for either more air defense or the ability to strike inside Russian territory so they can put an end to these attacks. So it says here, if these serious consequences occur in Europe, how will the United States behave, bearing in mind our parity in the field of strategic weapons? Putin added in his remark to reporters, it's hard to say, do they want a global conflict? So what he's talking about here is nuclear war, okay? He's mentioning that is the West willing to go to nuclear war over this war in Ukraine. The use of long-range weapons to strike Russia would rely on Western intelligence data, Putin said, and would suggest NATO military personnel would be involved in the attacks. Putin issued a stark warning against such a move. So that's pretty big too, which I could believe that. Western intelligence data would be required for Ukraine to start striking inside of their territory, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure Western intelligence has already been involved in this war, period, even before, the U.S. decided to even start thinking about allowing Ukraine to start striking inside Russian territory. But I see Putin's point here. Representatives of countries that are NATO members, particularly in Europe, should be aware of what they're playing with, Putin said. Countries with small territory and dense populations should be particularly careful, Putin warned. That's pretty crazy right there. He's talking about these small countries that could be potentially NATO members that, he could strike them and they have dense populations and they could just drop a strategic nuclear bomb and completely destroy their territory with their population along with it. Ukraine's struggle to fend off Russia's massive offensive in the Kharkiv region has highlighted the ban on firing U.S. weapons to hit inside Russia as a key issue that Kyiv has sought to reverse. Some Ukrainian officials have argued that Russia's attack launched from the Belgorod region could have been blunted if they were allowed to hit targets in the Russian province. So that's kind of what I was mentioning there. Like in the Kharkiv region, they come under attack a lot from the Belgorod area that continuously strikes inside of Kharkiv and many cities nearby. So a delegation of 5 Ukrainian members of parliament traveled to Washington this month to meet with Biden administration officials and congressional lawmakers in a bid to push the U.S. to reverse the ban. It's like if somebody were to attack Washington, D.C. from the Virginia state, and you say, we're not going to hit Virginia for some reason. David Arakamia, head of the Ukrainian parliamentary group on U.S. relations and the lawmaker who led the delegation, said earlier this month, "It's crazy. Military people like generals, they don't understand. So they are pushing us as politicians like stop the policy," which is what they're talking about. This is insane. So he's talking about here how the policy of not being able to strike inside of Russian territory is insane, for them to not be able to defend themselves. So they're basically stating that it's not fair for Ukraine, that Ukraine can't strike inside of Russian territory, but Russia can strike inside of Ukraine territory, and it basically puts Ukraine in a position where they're kind of fighting with one arm tied behind their back. You got to think of it kind of like a boxing match in a way, where Russia's got two hands and they're able to throw punches, but Ukraine's only fighting with one hand that they can throw punches with. So with this policy of not being able to strike inside of Russian territory, it's hurting Ukraine and also killing lots of innocent people every single day when Russia launches these attacks. I'm sure by now Ukraine is just sick and tired of being bombed all the time, and they want this to stop. And the only way for this to stop is to start targeting inside of Russian territory. But again, like I said many times, that if they start doing that, it could very much lead to a nuclear war. So I'm going to cite that down below. You guys can read more about this if you want to. There's a little bit more information on this article. It'll be in the description of this video if you want to check it out. But just as some closing statements here, this is very dangerous, okay? And I've been mentioning this many times, that we're close to like a major change in this war, an inflection point where something is going to shift majorly. And it may not be this slow, grinding on stagnant war that we've been seeing. We may see a major escalation, potentially with nuclear weapons. I hope not. But that could happen. And, could this turn into a global conflict or a regional conflict, whether it be nuclear or not? It's just very dangerous. And, obviously from there, if any kind of nuclear weapon is detonated, the West has already warned Russia that if they use any nuclear weapons inside of Ukraine, or really anywhere, but most likely Ukraine, that they would bomb all the targets inside of Russia, inside of Ukrainian territory where Russia stands. So all the areas that they've taken over right now, Donetsk region, Kherson, anywhere really, even in Crimea, they would go and bomb those areas heavily and destroy all the Russian targets in those areas. And I've talked about that in a video just a few days ago. So, there's just crazy warnings going out from either sides here. And it's very dangerous what's happening. And I really hope this thing does not blow up into something that is uncontrollable and something that we can't come back from. But it looks to me like it could already be going that way right now, or it even did a long time ago. But let me know what you think down below. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comments section. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.